So maybe Julian would like to repeat that now that we're live.
Yeah, I just read that news that there was a stripper on the Las Vegas Strip. Stripper on a strip, of course, but yeah, who squirted on the customers, as part of the show, and she had COVID, and she actually transmitted COVID to like 14 people by squirting on them.
That's freaking great. How's that? I mean, like,
Check your sources, man.
do you remember? Do you remember when? Like the Top Gear guys, they're saying, "How do you want to die?" And it's like, you want to die in an anecdote. It's like,
Well, yeah.
yeah. It's like, how did Daddy die? Well, he died in a fiery. He died in a fiery plane. Like, what was it? This something about we
Yeah,
died
Mom,
in.
stop dancing when I'm talking to you.
He died. It's like he died in a fiery plane crash in Cuba or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, something like that. I mean, that's like, how did your daddy die? Well,
It's just different, isn't it? It's so good.
I love it.
Anyway, that just made me laugh. Little news update and everything. So yeah,
That sounds very good. There's one way to start a podcast, that's for sure.
yeah, an interesting way.
Yeah.
They don't have those in Thailand that I know of. So we're safe. I'm going to be wearing not only the mask but also a helmet next time I go out, just in case.
I think you need the full painter's respirator mask.
Yeah, the whole. Actually, I wanted to do that, but yeah, I've been discouraged of doing this. I asked my wife if I could do that, just go outside with the that how do you call it, that
hazmat suit.
Hazmat, yeah, that's the one. That the whole suit. I just wanted to order one just to freak people out. Come out of the car, go to the nightclub.
Yeah, but you get one that's like fully transparent. So you can be like wearing a suit underneath. And then
oh, I thought, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Unless you're advertising, in which case, then, you don't need to wear anything underneath.
Exactly. That's where I was going with this. But anyway, my wife said no, so.
Welcome everybody to another podcast.
Hey everyone.
Another completely relevant podcast about cars sometimes.
Most times it's about cars.
Yeah.
And actually I wanted to start with, back to my point. It is a video about from the race, I think it is called, the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Who was showing. It's quite good, yeah, it's quite good. And they were showing the Alfa Romeo, and it was back to my point of those cars being freaking prototypes. And you know how in Spa, which is upcoming and very exciting, perhaps not for Ferrari, but exciting for the rest of the field, that they're testing also, like, actually, it's usually in August, right? It's after the break, Spa, right?
Yeah,
so
normally.
They control the temperatures and all of that. Anyway, when they did the free practice, it was a bit cooler than they're used to. And so what do they do? Because it's a high speed sort of track, right? So they don't need to cool the brakes as much, right? So since the temperatures were cooler, what do they do to close up those louvers, right, that are there for the brake cooling? They use freaking tape.
Yeah.
Duct tape is what they use.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're at the the top of the top,
yeah,
the cream of the crop of and they use duct tape, and there's probably zip ties somewhere.
Oh yeah.
In those engines, I'm sure.
It wouldn't shock me. They might make them look fancy. Maybe like the curve system or whatever it's called these days.
Maybe they're carbon zip ties, but they're still there.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can actually, I don't know how you do it with carbon, but you can actually get like carbon fiber fabric or just the weave.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's probably expensive. It's probably 1 grams instead of 3 grams. But that, back to my point. Of those cars being, when you look at them in details and everything, the panels don't join so well. So, I mean, again, not so long ago, they used to have tape, over this, over the bolts, try
Mm,
to make it,
mm.
um, did you know that they clean the car also religiously, right, in F1, which makes like 3 thousandths of a second faster because it's slicker, as it's very, very clean and very,
Yeah.
smoothed out. So, yeah,
That raises a good question. Is there any regulations around like the paint that they? Because I know it can't just
now
be vinyl. It's got to be painted. The car.
everybody remembers the silver arrows. They're the silver arrows because
Yeah, they had no.
without the paint, they were like saving, I don't know how many kilos of paint actually, and
Yeah.
saving. No, it's about the weight of the overall car now. So it's not,
Because
it's not as.
it got me thinking. Remember in the Olympics, I think it was the Sydney Olympics or something, where there was all this controversy about the swimmers wearing the bodysuit that had like
Yeah,
that texture, and they were able to go
yeah,
quicker. I wonder
yeah,
if they've got something similar in the paint world.
yeah, and I was wondering also, about waxing down there. Is it really, fair that some ladies wax down there and some others don't, for swimming? Um,
Well, I don't care what they do for swimming. Sorry, that's not my concern when we're
fell
talking
flat
about
on
that
its
topic.
face, this one.
Yeah, when we're talking
Um,
about that topic, that's not my concern.
yeah, sorry again. My son is next door, so I should avoid, offensive words like,
He has to learn sometime.
yeah. He knows them amazingly.
He knows them in
Probably
three.
his mom taught him because I
He
didn't know.
knows them in
I did
three
not.
languages too.
Actually, yes, in 3 languages. But yeah. So that was one thing. Anyway, apart from, and we can talk about Spa also, but one other freaking amazing news is, all those new tracks that we're gonna get until the end of the
Yeah,
year, and those triple headers, and also one track who is doing it right, in my opinion, Bahrain, where you're gonna have two races but on two different layouts,
yeah, that's a good idea.
right? And one of those layouts is the outer, Bahrain circuit, which
Mm.
basically is an oval in a way, where one lap, they're predicting that the qualifying lap is going to be 55 seconds. That is going to be
That's
freaking amazing.
that's fast.
Yes,
Is it because it's fast or is it because it's
because
just
it's
short?
basically it's nine. I think it's 9 corners.
Oh, okay, that's a
It's
short
it's
circuit.
basically an oval. Like it's as close as you get to IndyCar for Formula One.
They used to run at the Indy circuits back in the Schumacher days.
Yeah, a while ago. Yeah. That's right. That's right. But yeah, they did not anymore. I think the banks, it's just really two different types of racing. So trying to
Mm.
combine them might not be the ideal case. But anyway, look it up. Bahrain. The outer circuit or the outer track layout is going to be exciting because it's 55 seconds on qualifying, and they're predicting anywhere between 58 to 62 whatever seconds during the race,
Yeah.
which is going to be, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Again, sorry, Ferrari and Ferrari powered cars, the Haas and Alfa Romeos will also be at the back.
They won't have any
uh,
speed.
yeah, they just can't find that balance between, an underpowered engine since that ruling, and having too much or not enough drag, and actually Spa this weekend is going to be really, really relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, not relevant, but really will emphasize those weaknesses that the Ferrari has.
Yeah. I watched one really interesting video from Spa, not relevant to now. It was Kimi Raikkonen, I think, overtaking Hamilton
Oh, on the
on the
outside.
outside of Eau Rouge. I mean, how fucking ballsy is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
That was
Balls of steel.
that was a video that really caught my
But
attention this week.
talking about this, and back to Kimi Raikkonen, his comment about Spa, where where it used to be gravel instead of escape areas,
Yeah, yeah.
where if you mess it up, you get instantly punished. And he was saying that this was better actually.
Mm,
just instead of the runoff areas.
mm.
So, and I really fully agree with this. Why did they get rid of those
Yeah. I
gravel
remember.
traps? And I, they don't do this for the racing. They do this for the track days.
Yeah.
That's why they do this.
What, the gravel or not?
Yeah, the gravel. Like they
Mm.
remove the gravel for the track days. Really,
Yeah, because I know.
it doesn't help racing. I mean,
I mean,
that's my theory.
that's one
But
of the
yeah.
big things about Le Mans that makes it really interesting because, a puncture is a real massive problem because we're talking strategy over a long period of time.
Mhm.
Um, when you actually watch things like Le Mans, it's like there's some years where they've had a type of gravel that was too sharp. So anytime somebody went through, like everyone was immediately like, um, gravel on circuit turn 12, and everyone's lines just were all over the place because they're all trying to
They're trying
avoid the
to
gravel,
avoid.
and that's sort of really exciting,
That's
But
interesting.
I guess the thing, but that's the thing about Lamore. They still have gravel in a lot of places, and the other thing I suppose it's also an entertainment factor thing. If somebody goes off in the gravel in F1, there's no coming back.
It depends. If you can keep the momentum, you can bitch it. Yeah, definitely, and it's very easy to do. But we've seen a few escapes and a few saves, and I can remember Alonso doing it a couple of times,
Hmm.
where they actually get out to that escape route, because they keep that momentum in the car.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess that's when they have a predictable fuck up, in a way. Um, but yeah, bring back the gravel.
yeah. Bring
You
back the
know,
gravel.
yeah. And
Yeah.
we're not talking about anal sex. I'm just talking about the racing. Yeah.
Where the hell do you come from that you call it the gravel?
Because there's an expression in French where I'm gonna fuck you in the ass with gravel, which is
I can't even. I mean, there's no pun in that at
eh,
all. That's just
oh,
like
there's one.
eh, that's that's
But
just
that's
like
what reminded me of gravel.
hi, we're gonna have sex and I'm gonna break your nose. It's like it's that irrelevant.
Oh man, I miss Indonesia.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. But
Hello, mom.
I'm a good influence on your son.
Comments is below, mom.
But you know what, man? It's been a pretty quiet week this week for cars, hasn't it?
Yes, it has been. I've been looking at that. Have you looked at this that Bollinger electric prototype of?
Is that this Land Rover thing?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So they've got this electric prototype. It's yeah, pretty pretty boss actually. I must say, it's pretty nice. Yeah.
um,
Um,
hang on.
how can I, share my screen? Hold on a second. Screen capture. I see you, see me. You see me, see you. Here we go. This thing.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Look at that. It looks it looks good, doesn't it? Look at
No,
that.
no. It doesn't look it doesn't look good at all. It looks like shit actually.
I don't know. It looks like a tool.
Yeah. I
It
think
looks a bit like you. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a compliment, by the way, people. Um, Bollinger or whatever you want to call them. To me, they're the Land Rover Defender company that do all the modifications, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. They do. They do. Sorry, that's the only picture we have on that article. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't know. I like that look. I like the fact that also they're trying to put. We've seen electric engines in. They're trying to do the performance cars with electric engine or the
Yeah.
really, saving the planet in a way. Trying to do like, but there's no. I mean, at the end of the day, electric engines, and when you're doing four-wheel driving, right? When you're going, on tracks or whatever, um, dirt tracks is what I mean. But when you're going four-wheel drive somewhere, what you need is torque, and there's nothing better than electric engines
Yeah, I mean,
to do this,
I
right?
don't, I don't, I
So
don't disagree with you with that. I mean, I think that we see so many companies that have gone, full steam ahead, um, full steam ahead with electric is because there was a period in the early 2000s where nobody really knew in which direction the new power units were going to go,
mm,
because there was the hydrogen versus electric debate. I mean, both are technically electric, but um, one's battery and one's a hydrogen cell. So, and I think now that I think more people have jumped, there's mainstream um, appeal for things like battery powered electric. That's why we see so many companies, and because there's actually not that there's not a huge amount of companies that are actually going ahead and building um the battery packs for that size.
yeah, I think I mean when you think about again, I don't know how to call it in English, four-wheel driving, right? When you want to go
Off-roading and stuff.
off-roading,
Mm.
that's it. That's the word. Off-roading. That's the one I was looking for. I mean, there's the packaging as well. You can put the electric motor in the wheel. You know,
Yeah, they're not doing that, but
no, but
I mean,
they can like
yeah.
essentially when somebody is going to really get onto that market of off-roading, where you put the engine in the wheel, that means you have four independent wheel with constant feedback, where you can actually send the torque, power, whatever you want to each of those wheels independently. We're not talking front and back as we do today. We're talking about really independently sending that power anywhere
Yeah.
you want, right?
I
and
know.
and and then because of that packaging as well and putting it in a wheel, you also have a clearance that is like much better, because you don't need an axle in the end. So you can have something really that is off-roading better than anything that exists today.
Yeah, but I don't think they can get the motors big enough, or sorry, compact enough to output the amount that they need. I see that.
Eh,
Remember, Mercedes did that bright yellow SLS that had a motor on all four wheels.
mhm.
And that was apparently like magic to drive. But I think as far as like packaging is concerned, you can't really.
Well, I don't know, but the technology is evolving so fast.
Mm,
When you look at the have you seen that Civic Type R, where they put the rear wheels, they put some electric engines
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
wheel hub
yeah, yeah.
to make it basically a four-wheel drive, and they add what, 100 kilowatts or something like this
I'm
of
not.
power.
I'm not sure what they did
It's
with.
within the wheel hub.
Yeah, I'm not
I mean,
sure
it's
what it
like
was in terms of output. I know it was a not an insignificant jump in power,
that. Well,
but
yeah, and that's just like on the outside of the wheel hub that they did this. It's like for a car that is not designed for it originally. And, when you look at the possibilities there, I think they're really, really good, especially again for off-roading. It's going to be exciting to see what companies come up with, I think,
I think it's
with this.
going to be. I think it's really exciting. But there's also the thing of how, uh, um, there is this. You know, I think there's regulation is another thing, um, because there is certain like regulations in terms of how a car needs to be designed.
Mm.
And because of that, cars tend to look a particular way as well. Whereas
Yeah, tell
if
that to Elon Musk with his truck.
well, but that's the thing. It's his truck. Yeah, the Cybertruck. It looks fucking weird.
Yeah.
But but if we're talking about the proportions of what it actually is, like where the lights are and all that shit, it looks like
Okay.
that. The second people get companies start to this sort of technology comes in and more companies, because what you're going to find is the bigger car companies, like the European and Japanese car companies, are gonna come, and like BMW and Toyota have got like technology partnerships and things like that, and Porsche or Volkswagen Auto Group bought into what's it called? What's that company that does that Hammond crash the car?
Yeah, the Eastern European
Yeah, it's
company.
not
Yeah,
but yeah, the Croatian one.
Rimac.
Rimac, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, something like this.
So they all have big technology partnerships out there. And what they'll probably end up finding is there is better ways to design and package a car. But because it's so far out of the spec of what's considered or what's written into law, what it basically means is, I think you'll find a lot of car companies starting to campaign government saying, "Hey, we have these design concepts for future transportation." Because I think one of the discussions that's more popular this year is, cars are going to become more of a luxury if you have your own personal vehicle, and I know. I think people like you and me are always going to have a personal vehicle, but I think when we look at like the whole ride sharing culture across the world, people are going to be looking for a vehicle that you can sort of call up on demand, right?
Yeah, or rent on demand,
Yeah,
or yeah, yeah. I
or
mean, we've
very
seen those models,
yeah
and yeah,
for
yeah, it's going to creep into, but it'll always have the, uh, you know, a lot of the, a lot of the, I mean, okay, a few years back, I used to think, oh, we're going to lose all the high performance cars because there's just not enough customers for those,
mm,
right? Um, all those special models of the M and the AMG and all of that. Let's not start that debate again, by the way. But yeah, those cars. We're going to lose all of this because people just want to get from A to B, right?
yeah,
But actually, I would be worried if I was doing a consumer type of car that is considered a commodity, because the commodity market is actually moving towards that model that you were just saying.
yeah,
Either those grab, it's like it's becoming what I like to call hardware as a service, from software of a as a service that we know model, we're going to hardware as a service. So you just pay when you need it, and that's it,
yeah.
and you don't have any of the overheads, any of the headaches, anything to take care of with those. So I fully agree with you. Actually, I'm more worried for the people like Toyota who are making a lot of their cars, or the lineup is just for the consumer,
Yeah.
because they will be in more trouble, because this is the market that's disappearing, is actually that market,
Okay.
that consumer market, like the Camry, the Altis is what they call it here, which is, I guess, the Corolla in other market.
Mm,
Those guys, like that need a car again to go from A to B. Yeah. The thing is, with the pandemic, I guess a lot of people also will think twice about going into public transports. So that's a hit against the public transport again. Transmission of diseases and things like this. And I for one, when I was living in Paris, can tell that when I was taking either the bus or metro, I was getting sick on average 4 times more often than when I actually bought my motorcycle to go to work.
yeah.
So that's a hit there. But nevertheless, overall, I think you're completely right. And I think actually that this type of transportation also makes public transport somehow a little bit obsolete.
I think so.
So,
Because you're not having to deal with the issue. I don't think personal vehicles are ever going to go away. Really, I don't.
but yeah, but they will be, personal vehicles will be, you know, this is where I'm saying that a few years ago, I thought that those, performance cars would go away. Actually, those performance car will be what's left.
Yeah.
And then
I
all the rest will be driving a Toyota Corolla because it will have won over that market,
yeah,
which is going to be everything that you get once you call Grab or whatever,
yeah.
Uber or whatever, wherever you are.
And the thing with all of these vehicles as well is it's going to be like planes where, there's too many of them up in the air to put them anywhere. Like if
Parking is going to be a
yeah.
freaking issue. Yeah.
So it basically means that, well, there's going to be a lot of these, let's call them hardware as a service or automated taxi or whatever you want to call it. A lot of these vehicles just permanently driving, and they'll never be off, only to
Yeah.
refuel or recharge or whatever. So you
Yeah.
might find that congestion is not so much of an issue, particularly if there's automation behind a lot of it as well.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the
Um,
hope anyway. Yeah.
I mean, it's a dream.
Except for the odd idiot who's going to have an F40 that he wants to drive on the weekend, and
But
yeah, which is that's going to stay.
yeah,
But it's going to be an enthusiast market, or at least in the streets. So you'll see, a plethora of, black or white cars that are those cars that are, yeah, for just getting it from A to B. And then all the rest is going to be Ferraris and Lamborghinis and SLSs and, all those
yeah.
dream cars. That's it.
I mean, we're speculating here, but to me, it just strikes
And
me
a
as that would be
few,
the point.
hopefully a few rap going by.
Yeah. But it's I mean, we're speculating heavily here, but really, you
But
know,
why not?
yeah. I mean, I don't think the car has gone away. I think the way that we interact with the car is changing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion, and the reality is, I think it's something we can't predict fully.
No, we cannot predict fully, but I think that there are trends that draw themselves, and that's why we cannot predict 100%, is because trends also have just a time frame, right, where they
Mm,
are actually relevant, and then they change. So that's where we need to adapt a little bit as well. But no, I fully agree with you that the our rapport to cars is definitely evolving. And again, there's a lot of people. It's a very cultural thing. But there's a lot of people now who are really. I mean, that's where you see the growth of those Grab and Uber and everything.
mm,
Why would you need a car? Um, uh, I'm going shopping. I'm going out. I've had too much to drink. The repression is very hard.
mm.
It's be yeah be aware that, yeah, that this is definitely going to evolve. And but in my view, I fully am aligned with you. I think this is going to be a very a shift of the mindsets and the way we
Mm.
consume cars.
You were mentioning public transport before, and I don't know that public transport's going to be obsolete. I think the way public transport's used is going to change. So, say for instance, like that's all right, you do your thing. But like a city like Sydney, I mean, that's the only one I can really talk about where I was doing long distances. But a city like Sydney, where essentially what I would be doing is, driving 50 kilometers each way to get to work. I don't know that that's going to be. I don't know that that's um, what these ride share, or what do you call them? Hardware on demand vehicles are going to be used for. I think these sort of cars are going to be used for getting around sort of short distances, 10 or 20 kilometers, immediately around an area or whatever else. But if you're going anything further, there needs to be some sort of high speed infrastructure to be able to move people around to different areas where they'll then go to some sort of vehicle service, um, to get to wherever they're going then.
Mm. No, yeah, I think a lot of things are going to change on that side. It's going to be very interesting to follow, actually.
Oh. I agree, and I'm choking.
Yeah, show me some pictures or something.
I'll show you some pictures as Julian orders pizza for dinner. Well, one of the things that was interesting, Julian, as Julian was talking about Bollinger, he said they released that new car, which has actually been around a little bit longer than Julian mentioned it was. But I thought he was actually talking about this car. It's some sort of EV, which is like it's an EV, but it's a van. And I think one of the big things in EV technology that's going to be pretty interesting is actually what happens in the pro space. So when I say pro space, I don't mean like professional driver. Well, I do mean professional drivers, but transport, long haul industry, that sort of thing. Is how is that going to change in the future? And it's interesting that you mentioned Bollinger because they actually have this electric van that they're showing, and this is something I'm starting to see a lot
It's
of as well.
amazing.
Yeah,
He looks sick as well. Sorry, I had
yeah.
a couple of things that happened in between, but yeah, that looks and they've got a few different options for batteries as well.
Yeah, but this is one of the things that I was saying a little bit earlier about while passenger vehicles or commuting vehicles, they seem to be trying to make them look as much as possible like what a traditional hatchback is or four-wheel drive. Where I'm seeing most of the innovation in electric vehicles, at least in design, is in commercial vehicles because commercial vehicles now can benefit from the space that you gain
Mm.
from not having big diffs and all this other shit in built into
Yeah, you
the
do have the battery
mechanics of the car.
space, but again, you're right. Like the battery space, they usually, hang down low, so the center of gravity is also a lot lower.
Well, the battery is essentially the floor now. So
Yeah.
you just sort of go, well, I mean, this is where I personally am seeing the innovation um, in electric vehicles or innovation in the way that design is going, because ultimately these vehicles are designed for like commercial purposes. And as far as what these are trying to do, I mean, sure, I mean, this is a vehicle designed for uh, it's either deliveries or you've got an electrician or a plumber or whatever. And so that's very much like a manual labor kind of industry. However, fundamentally, their business is totally mobile, and being able to have something that is in the dimensions of something that they can legally drive or whatever it happens to be, but manage to move more, have more creative layouts within
And
these
not be
vehicles.
so slow off the mark as well. I mean, that's going to help with congestion as well, all those vehicles.
Yeah. Well, especially if they're automated as well. I mean, I suppose that's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
that's
Also,
gonna
but
help a lot.
I mean, the again, the level of torque will make it like just so much better in traffic. To get off the line,
Yeah.
um, which is again a real issue um, in our countries.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, as mentioned, I think it's sort of come full circle. I really do believe that the the I do believe the commercial vehicles is where we're starting to see the real sort of more radical thinking around design. You know,
Yeah,
and it's
the
design around
utility side,
yeah,
and you know what, that reminds me of one thing, and that's where I'm proud to be French in that sense, is that the vehicles in France are very utility driven. Like
yeah,
you buy a car. I remember that 2CV. Um, I want a I want a car that can drive around, across a field, not get stuck, and with a bag of eggs, and none of the eggs should be broken by the time you cross that field.
yeah.
And that was basically the target of that car. They built all that car around that. You know,
Hmm.
um, And I think it's going to be interesting to see how France will bring out cars around this,
Yeah, I
because it's
mean,
it's it's very utility driven. That's why, like, not a big engine, not a big. It's really towards what kind of use, you know I can get out of that car. That's why they invented that espace, the first.
yeah, I was actually gonna say that because, I mean, there's a few examples I can think about where certainly the French car companies come up with a lot of, pretty unique and groundbreaking designs. I mean, certainly in people always talk about the Ford Transit, but you look at a lot of the, utility or commercial vehicles, and a lot of them are French, where a lot of that innovative design comes from and outside of the box thinking, even though most people don't give a shit at all about that sort of stuff, but it really does come from
Well,
them.
it's precisely because in France, generally, people don't give a damn so much about cars, that what they know is that's what I need.
Yeah.
And that's the way, the cars are designed. It's really it's not about, well, in some cases anyway, it's not about, you know it's more about the idea. So people can come up with ideas and it will get realized, rather than,
Mm,
having the manager saying that's what I need, or that's what we need, or that's what we want.
mm,
It's, like somebody has an idea within the company, and that idea actually goes all the
mm.
way to the top, and everybody's like, that idea is great. We need to, promote it
Yeah,
or
and
make it happen.
that's another area as well, like, even when we're talking the utility side, I don't know where I heard this story from, but it was basically about in a lot of the, like civil engineer vehicles, they're always going off-road and things like that. In, like, the early days, there was 2 frames of thought. It's like, "No, we've gotta get, like, a Range Rover or something like that." When I say Range Rover, I mean, like, a Defender, early Defender, that sort of thing. So we can actually go to these sites and do this and that and the other. And then the other half of the school of thought was very much, well, no, this French little four-wheel drive thing, or often it wasn't even a four-wheel drive.
Go to
It's like,
CV.
yeah, well, no, like a hatchback or something like
No,
that.
that's
Well,
a different approach. Like when you were saying Range Rover with England, right? That's the way they approached, going onto the field, and getting a real performing four-wheel drive. The 2CV is so light that you
yeah.
don't need four-wheel
I
drive.
don't mean that old, but I mean
Yeah.
maybe 80s, late
Oh,
70s.
yeah. No, no, after also. Okay.
People were like, "Well, why don't we get some of these Peugeots and things like that?" Because they were just as capable off-road, at least for the application that they were using it, as the Range Rovers and things like that, and they were
Mm.
also cars, so they were
Yeah, in those
comfortable
in
as
those
well.
eras, it was more like the Peugeot 504,
Yeah,
505. Yeah, those
yeah.
cars. Yeah.
So, there's and that's the funny thing, I mean, people think they need a giant four-wheel drive to go off-roading, and let's be totally fair, if I was a off-roading enthusiast or had to do some very light off-roading in my life, chances are I would probably, pick up some sort of light off-roader like a Jimny or something like that.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
the
re
one. That's the
the
one you want. That
yeah,
Suzuki. Yeah.
yeah, but the reality of the situation is I've
I
also
actually didn't
every
make that.
time. Yeah.
Sorry, Maman.
But the other reality of the situation is I have been off-roading numerous times in my life. And in many of those instances, I have not been in a full drive. I have been in.
Yeah, but it was unintended as well. It's just because you suck at driving. That's why you went off roading.
There actually wasn't it. There was an
An
instance
intended
once.
one.
Yeah, it was unintended off-roading,
Uh-huh.
where basically what happened was I was going from in my last year of uni, I did a lot of my study via correspondence because I was already
Uh-huh.
working. And then you had to do like I think 4 or 5 days of the semester. You had to be in person, and the university I was at was like in the middle of nowhere. So I was actually following like very early GPS. This is
Mm.
before like Google Maps was effective or anything like that. So I was following very early GPS, and I was in the middle of like rural Australia, rural New South Wales, and it took me down a dirt road. and this dirt, I was going driving down it for like 15 kilometers or something like that, and I was like, should I just turn back and find another way? I didn't
Yeah, but
even know.
then you like, I've gone all that way. Should I turn back and lose all of this? It's like it's such a dilemma all the time, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it really was. And the funny thing as well was, because I left after work and drove up. Right, it was a 5 hour drive. So it was at this
Was
stage.
it in Orange or something like this that you had to go
I
from
was
Sydney?
Armadale.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Armadale. But
You can get a cheaper and easier degree and probably more recognized degree also here in Thailand
probably, but
for
that's all
half the cost. And
right.
yeah,
But
I'll hook you up, man. I'll hook you up.
all right, free degree. But the funny thing about that is, as I was driving down, because it was late at night, this giant wombat just came onto the road. Like, and for those
Fucking
that,
idiots as well.
like, huge,
Yes.
really huge, like not like little koala bear size, like the length of the front of your car size. And you can't nudge them or anything because the whole rear of a wombat is like a giant plate of armor.
Mm.
Even though they look furry and cuddly, even though they're big, it's like a giant plate of armor. So you can't like nudge them because they don't feel it. So I'm like following this thing at 15 k's an hour or whatever it was because it just wouldn't get off the road, even though I was like honking the horn. And I was thinking to myself, should I turn around? And then, but I'm looking at the GPS going, but it's like the GPS clearly knows I'm on a road, even though it's a dirt road. It knows I'm on a road. It knows it's pointing me in a direction. I'll follow it. In the end, it was the right road to be on, but it was just like one of those moments where it's like, if I'm lost here, I'm never coming back. It was one of those moments going through my
Yeah.
head. Like no one will ever see me again.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
Yeah.
There are actually a lot of people who do stupid shit because they follow just their GPS
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
those days. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one that we need to collect a few information for
Yeah,
and do
definitely.
another podcast.
I mean, this one, like, it was actually the right way to go. And I just used reason and logic. And the reason and logic was, well, I'm clearly on a road. I'm on the road that the GPS told me to go, and
Hmm.
it's still able to identify the road. So I'm going to run into a main road again eventually, which I did. So yeah, so that worked
Okay,
out
let's
for
go
me.
back to Formula One and talk about our favorite guy, Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, but you mentioned that.
Every year with Kimi Raikkonen is like, oh, it's probably time for him to retire. To let
So he is retiring though.
is it official?
I thought it was official that
No, it's not official. As far as I know, it's not official yet.
really.
I haven't anything that corroborates that. I've seen uh, the um the one thing that I saw was um uh, a journalist asking Kimi Raikkonen, is it time for you to retire? Because in your time, was it Kovalainen or another Finnish driver? Anyway,
Ike,
um,
yeah.
or Hakkinen, yeah, who actually retired, and then the journalist, like a fucking idiot, I must say, just said, "Oh yeah, so Hakkinen retired so that you could have your spot in F1, and then don't you think you should reciprocate and do the same thing because it's about time for you to retire in a way, right? To let some new youngsters come in." And Kimi Raikkonen was like, I don't think that's why he retired. It's not to give me, and the decisions I make for myself, I don't make for others. And he's so right
Yeah.
in answering this. I know, like some people might interpret this as being an asshole or something like this. But at the end of the day, come on, in your life, you don't make decisions, to please someone else. I mean, unless it's family or something like this, I guess. But not you don't do it like this, right? So, um, I- is it time for Kimi to retire? I, for me, it's actually it's a non-question. If the guy still performs, if the guy still can bring something to the team, his experience or whatever, if it's still valuable for the team, then that's it. It's not
Yeah,
about the people. It's not about personalities. When you run a company, it's about the organization chart and who can best fit in those.
that's the thing with Kimmy. Like, I mean, he may be like the oldest person there, but he's seriously not slow.
Yeah,
He was fast at Ferrari. He was fast at Lotus. He
yeah.
was fast. You just sort of go, he's not a slow guy. Like
No.
he's still as good as anyone else. It's just he's in a shit team right now, and it's
Well, not a shit team, but yeah, the car is not performing to the level it should, especially with that Ferrari engine where they had to take. Yeah, I don't want to say a shit team because I mean, man, there's so much development, there's so much efforts behind. You cannot, say that to the people who are,
no.
but
Um,
I'm with you. It's not about the driver. It's not about the personality of the driver. If he's here to do a job,
mm,
and if he cannot do that job, then yes, he's out. But it's not going to be him deciding. It's usually going to be the teams deciding.
yeah, exactly.
Like we need someone. We need that mix of drivers. We have this opportunity to get that driver, whatever it is, to make the team advance. It's not the personality. It's not a one man show.
Yeah, exactly.
And then yeah, I'm a little bit, sometimes looking at this. Again, that's the way you run a company. Like you have the people who perform. If you don't perform in your role, it's not a personal thing. Like it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for the company. It's better to split ways. Yeah, to part ways.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
you know it's not a hard thing, and it's not a hard thing to rebound from as well, and it's not hard feelings or anything like this. It's
Mm,
just the way it is. um
yeah, I mean, I'm
so
I'm I'm looking at the I'm looking at the FP2 results. Sorry, I'm looking at FP3 live,
FP3, yeah, FP3
and at the moment,
now on.
Bottas is first, Verstappen is second, Hamilton third, Perez fourth, Albon down in seventh.
It's like Bottas again. Yeah, Bottas. Why Mercedes likes him? He's a second. He's the second driver,
Yeah,
and yeah, every time he comes and he makes a bit of media and everything. I'm first. The Bottas 2.0, now it's 3.0. I think now I don't know how many versions we've had, uh, but they're all beta, versions. They don't compare to Hamilton's,
yeah,
performance, and you don't want to disturb that also in a team. You have some, again, it's like at work, right? You have some people who go over and beyond all expectations and all of that, and you need those people. But you also need the people who come at 9 every morning, finish at 5 every evening, that have other priorities in their life, which might be family, whatever. But you need those people as well, right?
yeah,
And Botas belongs in that second category.
yeah, yeah,
Show up, give a consistent performance. Constructor championship, sure, Mercedes
yeah.
is going to get it.
I
There's
mean, it's
no
it's
denying.
abs- it's absolutely incredible what's happening to the Ferrari cars at the moment. I mean, like Leclerc is 12th at the moment. Vettel is 15th.
They were 15th, and yeah, actually, Vettel was behind Russell, I think, in FP2. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're not
Russell and
they're
Sainz.
not even midfield. They're like at the very back of midfield.
Yeah. Like, what a disaster for Ferrari, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know what's happening behind doors. Are they preparing something crazy for 2022? Or were they preparing for 2021 anyway, initially, and then it got pushed back to 2022 with the new regulations? Let's see. It's those strategies is something that we can only try and guess they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, for us the main metrics is now we should also try to project ourselves in the futures as
Yeah. I
well.
mean, I think the honest truth is you're not going to see much from Ferrari for the next 2 years. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
whatever. I think you look at 2022 is when you'll probably see them come good. But I mean, this is just free practice results. The people that are the quickest are on softs. Everyone else is on mediums. Um,
Yeah,
except
but you never
what?
know what they're running. Like
Yeah,
when they're running qualifying or they're running,
yeah. I mean,
the race.
I'm looking
Or
at
yeah.
Perez, who's sitting at fourth below Hamilton, is running on hards, so that's interesting.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I mean,
Hamilton is he's doing his Hamilton thing again.
hmm,
That guy is just unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
fantastic driver,
He's gonna
absolutely.
blow. Yeah, he's gonna blow all those records from Schumacher, I think.
Yeah,
Um, and even if he was in a car that doesn't perform as well, he would be smart enough to move to another team, or like to make it. He's gonna. Yeah, I'm expecting Hamilton to go for at least 8 world championships,
yeah. I think that's
not
what's
just
gonna.
equal, but
I
just
I certainly think that's what's gonna happen. Though he's gonna go for another one.
this year is gonna be on the sevens. Next year again, we know that there's not gonna be much change. So he's gonna have the car is a freaking on average like 8 to 9 tenths ahead
Mm,
in qualifying. Come on, I mean they can win a race on 3 wheels.
yeah, definitely.
you know what else do you need, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully he makes it. I'm actually rooting for him. It's not that he's my perfect, favorite personality and all of this, but yeah, I think he's a fantastic. He's an incredible driver,
Mm. Oh,
incredible, and I admire that so much.
look at that. Grosjean just went quicker than Vettel.
Oh my God, Grosjean, by the way, is not French. Grosjean is Swiss. He's only racing under the French colors because they gave him more support when he wanted to get into racing than getting like another not super license, but anyway, you know my drift. You get my drift, right?
Mm.
But the guy is Swiss. He's not French.
Oh, really? Okay. There you
Yeah.
go.
And I'm saying this because I'm not a big fan. I'm
Uh,
more I'm
I
more
don't.
of a fan of Gasly. I think Gasly has had like an incredible season so far since he was, kicked back into Toro Rosso,
AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri.
I mean,
Uh, but
he's sitting at fifth right now. So
no, but he's just he and Kvyat actually also is bringing the car. Kvyat is doing an incredible job, but then that actually shows or puts into perspective how good a job Gasly is doing as well
mm,
with that car. So yeah, Gasly, I hope he gets a seat in another manufacturers
yeah,
at some
I think
stage,
so.
because he's got no future now with Red Bull, because Red Bull is supporting Alex Albon, who's doing an incredible job as well, I must say. But he's never going to be able to go anywhere as long as he's in the little sister team. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's see what happens next for him.
I mean, I'm looking at the leaderboard update now. Raikkonen just went quicker than Leclerc.
Oh my God. That's AlphaTauri above Red Bull.
No,
And
that's
Gasly actually ended up above Albon a couple of times this year.
Kimi Raikkonen's lap time was just removed.
Ah,
He must have cut a corner.
yep.
But I mean, AlphaTauri, like where are we looking at? You look at Gasly and AlphaTauri. He's sitting in P5 right now,
Yeah, that's incredible. I think
above Albon.
his qualifying pace is unbelievable. Usually, he brings the car regularly to Q3,
Mm,
and everybody agrees it's a Q2, a Q2 car.
yeah, yeah.
So, but he brings it to Q3, which actually doesn't really help him during the race.
What do you mean?
Well, at the end of the day, you don't want to be 10th in Q3,
Okay, yeah,
because if you're in Q2, you can have your choice of tires. If you're in Q3, you're using your fastest tires you use during Q2, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't help with strategy and everything, but it just makes it work also during the race. It's just unbelievable. I think he's one of the drivers to watch. I'm afraid he might be one of the drivers like and sorry for being Franco-French, at this stage, but like Eric Verne,
Mm,
who for me Red Bull like dismissed, like they should never have. The guy is you know a two-time world champion in Formula E. Uh, you know, oh yeah, this guy is not good enough. Fuck, what did he do? But uh, it's just like the
I
way they
like
dismiss people.
John Eric Verne. He did a bit of
Yeah,
them
Jean
too.
Yvan is did, yeah, but and he did actually, in my view, when and again, Ricardo was taken over him, right? And
Mm,
Ricardo is an incredible freaking driver. But I thought that Jev should have had his chance as well.
mm,
The only reason why Jev I was not on par with Ricardo was really about um, you know car issues. It was really out of his hands. Whenever what happened to him happened, like
mm.
those points that he didn't get or whatever. So yeah, I think we missed one real talent there in F1 as well, who was like pure grit. The grit that you can see in Verstappen. I never give up. You
Yeah,
make me start last, I'm just gonna make it happen. Like that. And
yeah.
Jeff has that, and he's an
Speaking of
incredible
Ricciardo,
driver.
though, do you think it's a good? I mean, I think it's a good move for him.
I
Um,
think it's
but
better for him than it is for Science at
yeah,
this stage.
I don't know. It's just because McLaren is what's happening to Ferrari now is exactly how McLaren was being looked at not so long ago. You know what I mean? Like where,
Yeah, but it's a cycle. It's a cycle, man. It's a
mm.
cycle between teams.
And now McLaren are just a midfield car.
They're one of the fastest in the midfield. They really made a step forward last season. I think they're still consistently delivering this season as well. Not only because of their driver, also because they have a good car.
Mm.
Um, and next year, remember, they'll get the best engine in the field as well. Yeah, next year they're switching to Mercedes. So let's see if they can make that package work. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still okay, not at Spa, but in previous races, usually faster than the Reynolds,
Yep.
with the same engine. That means their chassis and aero is better, their package, right? So when you put the best engine at the back of this, let's see what that gives. I think it's going to be challenging because with the engine you have the cooling, you have to change a lot of your aero for the cooling, and you know the weight distribution might change and all of that. So either it's going to be a huge step back or a huge step forward. No,
Yeah.
actually, a huge step back or a little step forward.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Like McLaren is just definitely one of those teams that I'd like to see them do a bit more. But the funny thing with all of the teams on the grid, they've all had their moments where they've been the king.
Yeah, and that's Formula One.
Mm.
That's Formula One, and that's where I mean, again, Williams was sold to investors, right?
What's it called?
Um,
Doril. Hang on, I think I.
Dorlinton, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Dorilton, I think it is an American found.
yeah. Dory
Dorilton,
Dorilton. Yeah, yeah. There we go.
Dorilton, Dorilton. Um, it seems to be great because they're gonna have some funding as well, and you know, I guess also when you're a team that is looking for investors or where basically the future is uncertain, um, now knowing where they're going is going to be quite good. They're going to keep the name, they're going to keep all of that because in a way, the Railton wants to get known, and that's what they did with getting their name up there. Like we're the owner of Williams.
Yeah,
That's going to help them, definitely in their marketing. But essentially, the team seems to be the same and all of that. And again, there's no more uncertainty. So that's, I think, no matter what you say or do, having this confidence will help the team move forward as well. Um, but it's one of those big names, yeah. They used to be the best, as you said. They used to be the best. They used to be, but I think the regulations now don't allow for as much leeway as we used to see in the 70s or 80s. Um, the ground effect, in aero, um, the six-wheel cars, all of this you
Aren't
won't see
they
anymore.
aren't they bringing back the ground effects stuff?
Well, they are for next, but it's very, regulated. So there's
Okay.
not much way you can. The reason why they do this is to avoid, the wake at the back of the car, right? The aero disturbance, the air disturbance, so that
Yeah.
it's a little easier to follow cars. Um, so let's see if that's really gonna work.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see if that actually does anything. I mean, like, if everyone's running ground effects, I mean, I think that's gonna. I mean, that might. I mean, that's really going to be an interesting design philosophies for a lot of these cars too, because if you're running like ground effects on a car, it means you could theoretically make the car slipperier because you're getting more downforce generated by the floor.
Well, they should be faster. Essentially, they actually should be faster because it's actually more efficient, apparently, to run ground
Yeah.
effect than it is,
So it's
Um,
possible that they might actually change the look of the car, and it might change the look of the car
oh, well,
entirely.
when you see some of the renderings for 2022, the cars look fantastic. And remember, they will change the wheels as well. So they're gonna have 17 inches wheels as well instead of
Yeah.
the 13 inches with so much meat on the tire, which looks so outdated actually.
Yeah, I was always wondering why it took them so long to get to larger wheels.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, that's one thing. I would like to see a bit of deregulation of the Formula One. I think it's too regulated now. They should
Yeah.
loosen the regulations to give, yeah, nice picture, nice, yeah. So they should try to make it as fast as it can be, and let the engineers go wild a little bit, right?
I've always wanted that. I've always gone, why? Because you know what? There's going to be a time where the internal combustion engine is going to disappear from F1. And, I think if they really wanted to give it a real goodbye, they should say, we're dumping a bunch of regulations.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, before they can do this, I think they're going the right way, and I think probably that's the direction they're taking. And first, what they're doing is capping.
Yeah.
The spend per team for next year, 245 million USD, which in the end is actually not. I mean, seriously, it's not much. I mean, Williams got sold for 175 million USD or something like this.
Yeah.
That's not much.
It's not.
I mean, in the scheme of things, right? It's not that bad actually. Um, Give me a few years and I'll be able to buy that. Um, but no, yeah, that's what they say, right? If you wanna be the owner of Formula One and become a millionaire, you just have to start by being a billionaire, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or something along those lines. But yeah, look at those. They look great, don't they?
They definitely look different.
Hmm.
I think the front end looks a lot like an Indy car.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more, yeah, intricate and complicated than an Indy car.
I think it's less complicated.
I
Look at
think it flows. It's really nice. I
Mm.
just love those cars. Those renderings are beautiful.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so the whole idea is that, and that's where you see the rear wing being so small. Um, is basically apparently it seems to be very hard to follow a car in F1 because there's so much turbulences coming from the car in front, where it's unpredictable to the front, like you can't keep the, so you end up not being able to follow the car in front, because not only your engine gets hotter, but also because you have less downforce yourself because of that disturbance. You keep on burning your tire, burning through your tires.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
let's
tires.
let's see if, yeah.
I mean, tires is going to be the big point there, isn't it? But that's like I was saying. It's. I mean, those are just renderings by an artist with.
And that's what I want to say. Bring back multiple manufacturers of tires.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. It's
Yeah,
like
bring that back.
it's
Bring
like
that back.
I
And
mean,
then,
it's
yeah.
it's it's like Le Mans, you know. You realistically, there's only two brands there. There's Michelin and Dunlop. Um, and that's purely because Dunlop and Michelin's are the only ones that are doing the tires that are good enough for that sort of type of racing. As far as like sprint racing, like Formula One is concerned, I think the compounds are going to be very interesting to do there. But I think
But that's, like, that's where, I disagree with the way Formula One is going with this, because they're asking Pirelli, and remember what Michelin said, because there was a bid, for tire manufacturers to go into F1, right?
mm,
And then Michelin withdrew, saying, "You're asking us to make the life of the tires less. So you're essentially telling us we should have an underperforming tire so that we can make the race interesting." And they said, that's it, we're gone.
yeah. Well, the other thing as well is Michelin said they wanted to have 18-inch tires because in their Le Mans racing and everything like that, it's all 18-inch. And I think the big point that they were actually saying, it was not just about, are you asking us to make a product that's irrelevant to our philosophy? So whereas endurance racing is very relevant to their philosophy because we
Yeah.
want to make tires that perform and last well. I mean,
Well,
you
exactly.
look at Michelin, like you look at, I mean, if you look at any kind of tire in most motorsports, like an intermediate tire is a tire with tread, like grooves in them, right? A tread pattern. The Michelin intermediate tire is actually a slick still. And because it's like, no, we can actually make a slick that's intermediate. And a lot of the drivers were like, couldn't believe it when they were actually running around in these things in like intermediate conditions and saying, I don't understand how these tires perform. I don't understand how you can have an intermediate tire that's a full slick. And
But that's
it's,
where you get innovation. You get innovation in tires as well. Like, that's where you push, and that's why over regulating and limiting options and all of this should be something that, you
yeah,
know, I
exactly.
hope,
Because,
again, coming back to what I was saying, like, I hope that the capping of the costs is step one, and that once we've capped, over the next few years to, blah blah blah, 125 million, I think it is, over 3 years or whatever. I hope that this is what is going to happen. you
yeah.
know
And
that's your cap. And
that's
you
the thing
know
as well. Like,
it is a paribus, right? Like, that's what you can work with.
mm,
And there's no more rules. Be clever.
yeah. And that's the thing. I really would love to see like Michelin coming in there. Well, actually, sorry,
Yeah.
like you're saying with F1, I it seems like they're getting closer and closer to making everything spec.
Yeah, but
Because like the Formula E cars are a spec car as well.
yes, they are, because that's the beginning. But
Yeah,
they're saying that they don't want spec cars going forward. So if Formula One, because they want to then let people, they want to start this as an even field, make it exciting racing. But then they want to let people, different teams go their own ways in the way they do things.
yeah,
Spec cars is basically coming back to, a spec series, and I think that's not the way we should be looking um,
like a
at
real
at
competitive sort of.
yeah. But not only this, but like the bringing the innovations.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like
How do you
I
balance that?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you almost people talk about balance of performance in GT racing, where you've got cars that need to run restrictors on them or ballast or whatever else to level out the performance between all the cars. It's like, yeah, I get what you're doing there. You're trying to get more manufacturers in there. Like the BMW Z4 GT3. I mean, it's not a very new car. It's old and it's been retired for many years. But when it was racing in like IMSA, there was a bit of controversy because their engine was so much bigger than everyone else's, and they didn't have to run certain restrictors. And it's because the Z4 was never designed as a GT3 car, and they had to make the concessions for the vehicle because um, apparently because they didn't have an M3 GT3 to run at the time, and you saw they transitioned to the M6 as well,
Yeah.
and so I think BMW Motorsport has been a bit of a mess, to be completely honest. They certainly do have a lot of like small feeder series cars, which is not bad. But then when you look at a lot of the big manufacturers, like you look at Porsche, Audi, and Mercedes and Bentley now, they have GT3 cars and they are sold.
Well, Bentley has a
There's
bust.
Well, no, but the Bentley wins. It's a
Yeah,
fast
it's
car,
so big.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it looks like
you
a
wouldn't you
freaking bus.
wouldn't you
It's
would
because, if it qualifies in front, nobody is able to overtake because it takes the whole fucking track. It's so big, that car.
Do you remember all the memes from the M6?
Yes, yes.
I fucking love that. I'll see if I can pull one up so the listeners or watchers can actually see that.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it. Hang on. I'll pull up Google Images and see what comes up. I've just done M6 meme. Hang on, I'll change your screen for you.
The first one is very good already. Sorry, the second one from the left is just
Like, literally, I mean, I
that's
know it's bullshit, but like,
it's not so far from the truth though.
yeah, the car is very big. And it just didn't perform the way they
It's like
wanted it to.
fucking. It's like you and me, man.
That's a good one.
This one is so good.
I like that. But man, like the M6,
Oh, that was nice. That was a slick car.
which one? This one?
After this one,
That's
you
a
know how I love my car slammed.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. For me, that's nice.
But yeah,
Don't like the lip. The lip is a bit too, yeah. But anyway,
yeah. But yeah, I just the M6 was a big car, not the Bentley. The Bentley is big.
the Bentley is big as well, man. It's really big.
I've seen those things actually, the
I mean, it's
GT3.
distinctly
I've
bigger than
seen
other cars on the
I've
track.
seen those Bentley GT3s run at the Bathurst 12 hour.
Yeah,
I fell in love with them. Like Project Cars.
yeah.
I was playing that a lot at one stage,
Mm.
and I never buy DLC for games, but I 100% bought the Project Cars Bentley package so I could get the Bentley GT3.
Is it that the Project Cars 3 just came out? Is that the one?
I think so.
And everybody's hating on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's too much of an arcade game.
Oh, because it was
Not enough of simulation.
it was really sim Project Cars 2.
Yeah, but apparently with the third edition, they're really taking a step towards arcade, and the graphics are actually worse than the second one.
Wow. I'm glad I've still got the
Everybody's
second
shitting on it, really. Like if you look online, the people who are testing that game, everybody is really not happy with that
Yeah.
third opus. Um, Man, I can't wait. But yeah, let's talk after the podcast.
Yeah. Should we call the podcast there? Actually,
Yeah,
let's predictions for Belgium.
Hamilton, Verstappen,
Hamilton, Verstappen.
Perez.
That's pretty bold. Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez. All right, where do you think the Ferraris are gonna? Let's see the other game. Where do you
No
think the Ferrari?
points.
No points. I was thinking the same. I'm thinking Leclerc is either going to finish 7th or 11th.
Bottas, something is gonna happen, and yeah, yeah, Ricardo, a 4th.
Yeah, and I think Vettel probably be 12th or 13th.
I'm thinking Vettel 15th and Leclerc 12th.
Okay. Yeah, they're not doing so good at the moment, so we'll
And
see how
that's
that
in a
goes.
track like this, it seems that they're really struggling. So I wouldn't see anything higher than this.
Yeah,
And Vettel, if there's no point there, he's not as hungry as a driver, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
If there's no point there, so he's just gonna stay there. And Ferrari's idea is gonna be, let's preserve the engine
Yeah, probably.
because we're not gonna win here.
Well, they've got new circuits they've got to look at now, so they've got
Yeah,
to.
exactly. It's 17 tracks now, so.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching this week. Like, share, subscribe.
Or don't, please don't.
Or don't. Yeah, we're fine with that as well.
But
Don't care.
comment. It would be nice to have 1 or 2 comments with tens and tens of people who don't watch the
The
fucking
views
stream.
the views have actually been going up. So, interestingly, half of our views are actually all from Indonesia. So somebody in Indonesia is interested in the dumb shit we have to say. So thank you
Yeah,
for
you have a
watching.
lot of friends on Facebook.
Me, I've got like no friends on Facebook. It's pretty good.
Oh, I did send you. I did send you well, I did comment and put your name on there on one of the EGs.
Oh, really?
You have to look it up, man, because that EG looks incredible.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check it out after this.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye, Mal.